Keefer, the president and CEO of our Daytona Regional Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for doing this interview with me.
It's my pleasure, Carmen. I just love the positive energy that you bring about, and anytime I have the opportunity to chat with you in this way, I'm more than happy to do it.
Well, I feel the same way, and I'm glad that we have someone like you in our leadership locally to help us. So how are you and Chris doing?
We do pretty good. It's just the two of us and our four-legged child, Mick, at home, so we have plenty of room to social distance. And, he's retired, so when I'm working out of the house, he just goes and does all the things he does every single day and lets me do my work.
That's awesome. So I wanted to get you on because I figured, there's a lot of small businesses that aren't members of the Chamber of Commerce. I know from being involved in the chamber, sometimes people will say, well, why join the chamber? Why join the regional chamber? Why not join this one? So I wanted to just chit chat with you a little bit about what is a chamber. So what does the Regional Chamber of Commerce do?
So, the good part of having a brand like a Chamber of Commerce is that it's well known. And around the nation, when you say Chamber of Commerce, somebody says, oh, that's going to be the business organization that provides information, that does events and has a lot of activities, and they advocate, on behalf of the business community. The bad side of that is if you've had a bad experience with the chamber, you take that into any community in which you might reside as a business owner. Sure. So, certainly as a regional chamber, and we are able to have a little bit broader footprint for our community. And we have a couple of differentiators for our chamber, one of which is the fact that our cornerstone is our advocacy role in the community. We absolutely position ourselves as the voice of business, or the chamber of influence, as you'd like to say. And we stand very, very strongly behind that, and work really hard to do the blocking and tackling that's needed to get any attention on a local, state, and federal level.
What is your favorite part of the job as being the CEO of the Regional Chamber of Commerce?
It's an incredible job. I am blessed to be in this industry. I'm 33 years in the chamber industry, which is incredible in itself. I always tell people I started when I was 12, in case they're putting numbers together. My absolute favorite part is the people. I get to work, and I say this often, I get to work with the best and the brightest in our community. People like yourself, you serve on our board, you're on our ambassadors, you're a small business owner that really gets the Chamber of Commerce and the important role we play in building the economy. The membership is diverse, so I have access to the largest of businesses, the smallest of businesses, and everybody in between, as well as elected officials on a local, state, and federal level. So it is about the access to decision makers and seeing really incredible things that are done throughout our community.
Absolutely. And you do such a great job of that. I'll be honest that when I first came here, coming from a smaller community and dealing with a chamber of commerce that were relatively small compared to a regional chamber, I was a little intimidated. I was like, where am I going to fit in as a small business owner? With my Italy business in a large regional chamber of commerce, but I've really seen it be very welcoming to small business, very open to our opinions and perspectives. So from a small business perspective, I really appreciate that. And thank you guys for being so open to the small businesses in the area. Only good things that I can say about the chamber from serving on different roles and from just a business perspective. So we appreciate you and all that you do for small businesses locally.
Well, and I appreciate that. And I think it's really important for people to understand that 85% of our members are small business. We get that. We mirror the nation. We mirror, those kind of demographics. And the hardest part for us is really communicating how that translates to every single small business. Small business owners are so busy, running the day to day. And if I can get one thing across, in our conversation, is that, when a small business joins, or any business joins, we become an extension of your staff. We become your go-to resource. And while we won't have the answer to everything, it's our job to find the answers and to put you in connection with those that, can help you succeed.
Absolutely. And you've been involved on a state level. You've served on the Florida Chamber Board as the only chamber rep for a number of years. On a national level, you've served as the sixth female in over 100-year history of the National Association of Chamber Executives. And you serve on the Chamber Committee of 100. And that's 100 chamber leaders nationwide who serve as an advocacy group for the U.S. Chamber. How has that benefited you in your leadership position here in Daytona Beach?
Well, it's a great question. I've been lucky to have boards that believe that my access to what's going on nationally can be translated back to how that'll impact our community. So, it's very specific examples. I can pick up the phone and call just about any chamber in any state and say, how did you deal with this issue? I've got a peer network, across the state and across the nation, that's incredible to me. And they help me get through in a much better fashion, roadblocks that they've experienced. It's a very giving industry. Chambers share constantly. They share their information, they share their resources, and we're very much like that here. So my involvement has kept me on top of trends. It's kept me on top of the relationships that are necessary to be, one of the first to get out there and talk about the new small business loan program, or, having that direct text in conversation with the state chamber, the national chamber, and all of that.
Yep, and we can definitely relate from a franchise perspective because we get so much from that network. So I can definitely see and I can appreciate what you're getting in that level, being around other chambers around the United States. That's a big benefit. So again, just another reason why our regional chamber is so awesome, and a lot of it has to do with you. So congratulations on all that you're doing. It was exciting to see that come up this year, and it's well deserved for sure. Now, for small businesses, a lot of the small businesses that are in the chamber will relate to a lot of the educational and training opportunities. So what is the chamber currently doing during this time to continue to provide some of those benefits and benefits to the chamber?
Yeah, I am so proud of the staff here at the chamber, how fast we were able to pivot, so to say, when all of this started to become very public and decisions were made to, how it would be impacting business. Within the first week, we had already tried out all of the, different conferencing software, whether it be Zoom or GoToMeetings or Google Hangouts, or, all of those things that probably will become a very natural way to do business for the future, to be very honest with you. So in any given week, we'll do probably a minimum of 2, if not 3 or 4 different conferences for our members or the business community as a whole. We're not saying you can't sign in and see these webinars that we're doing. Our COVID page that's on our website at www. I know I don't need to say that, Janet would smack me, DaytonaChamber.com. That is just full of resources. So you as a business owner can sit there at night with your bowl of popcorn at 10 o'clock and watch a webinar on what does the CARES Act mean. You can get, information straight from the resources that we have access to. So, I think that that's really important as we move forward, to let businesses know that not only are the webinars there, but if you dive into that site a little bit more, you'll find tips on how to work on your business right now, with direct links to podcasts or leadership books. What does it mean to work on your business at this particular time? So there are a lot of resources. And right now, with so many people being remote, we don't know when they want the information. So we're making it available to them 24/7.
So as the voice of the local business community, and with advocacy being such an important role with a regional chamber, how are you guys moving forward with advocacy today for small business with the current climate as it stands?
Yeah, I mean, we run weekly calls with the staff at the state level and at the federal level, and we've had conference calls with Congressman Waltz and with Senator Scott, and we've opened those up for the most part to our membership because they want to hear what's going on in the trenches. I mean, we can sit there and give general feedback and comments, but our purpose of giving access to these officials that they may or may not have had access to is incredibly important. And regardless of whether we're doing Zoom conferences or whatever, we as staff are on the phone with them constantly. I talk about advocacy, and I can't do that without a shout out to Jim Cameron. Jim has been with this chamber for, I think he'll say 37 years, but he's only worked about 20 of them. But that's okay. He would say that to all of you, and it's a joke between us. So, but that's his full-time job, and that's what he does. But I can tell you that the work that's being done across the board, my staff is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I have to agree. Our regional chamber has an amazing staff. So, again, I have nothing bad to say about our chamber at all. I'm so pleased. And just from getting to work with other chambers, you guys are extremely professional, and the conversations are always very productive and forward thinking, which is awesome.
Carmen, can I just do a shout out to the other chambers? Because these are my peers, and I have an incredible relationship. We worked so closely together. And what they are doing in their chambers, they may be more geographically, within a community, but they're working so incredibly hard. And we meet as executives every month, and we talk about what can we do that's good for business. Take aside who's a member of which organization. What are we going to do to make sure that our environment is good for all business to succeed? So I do want to do a shout out. We've got a great alliance of chambers here.
Yeah, and you guys are very, because I've heard, you guys stay very well connected here. Yeah, and you guys support each other, and you even see cross membership a lot here. You'll see we're a member of the Holly Hill Chamber of Commerce because our center's in Holly Hill. So you'll see that you guys are active with them, and you guys do a mingle every year together. So I think that, again, from a small business perspective, it's great because we're moving forward as a region versus, individual. You can have so many different municipalities and different goals. So it's great that you guys do that. And there are some excellent chambers in this area. Absolutely.
There really are. And it's not the normal, I can tell you, in communities. And I've served now, this is my second time in Florida, but also in New York and Pennsylvania. And it's not a given that chambers are going to get along. So this community is really, really lucky, not only from the chamber perspective, but if you look at economic development organizations, the same thing goes. We're all here without a lot of ego saying, let's just get it done.
Yeah, you definitely see that here. And I think that you see it really in the business community as a whole. You see a lot of competitors working together here for the greater good. And you're definitely seeing more of that with everything that's happening right now. So I think that says a lot to the leadership locally and to you guys. So how do you think that we should continue to develop business relationships with the social distancing being implemented? And we know that the new norm is going to change, right? So the reality is it's going to be a while before, we're 50 plus people in a room again, I think. I'm not sure. I guess we'll know more in the next couple of weeks. But how do you think that we continue to develop business relationships during this time?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And, first and foremost, I really encourage people to get comfortable with this type of technology. Start, looking at how do you conduct your business virtually. Our businesses, small businesses in general, are so busy that they a lot of times haven't really thought about, is there an opportunity to save time by looking at things from a digital standpoint? So now this has been forced upon us. So, I want to highly encourage people, if they can take 5 or 10 minutes or an hour out of their day to participate in some virtual networking and get comfortable with it, I think that they're going to be further ahead. Because as you said, I don't think in the short term, we're going to be back to large events where we're all face to face. I think that whatever comes out of this, that we're all going to have to get comfortable with social distancing and doing business in a different way. It absolutely does not mean that it can't be done. It can be. And there's some great examples of people out there out of their comfort zone, driving people to their business. Now, maybe it's not what it was, but it's something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you foresee, we won't know for another week or two really what shutdowns look like for Florida. I think we're all kind of crossing our fingers that it'll be, We'll be open for business 100% May 1st, right? We are an essential business, so we're open. And it is difficult to operate as an essential business when the business climate is slowed down as much as it has in a community that is highly a lot of events, entertainment, so you've got your restaurants that are almost completely shut down, takeout only. All the events have been postponed, so it is difficult, right? So what do you foresee that COVID-19 will do to the economy here in Volusia County, and is that a conversation that has been had at a leadership level yet, or are we holding off yet to kind of start to tackle what that would look like? Is it too early?
Well, we've given some space for people just to get through, this true disruption that we've had. And I can assure you that we're having these conversations with our executive board. We'll be having them with our full board, because we have to move on to what's next. We kind of have to be ahead of the curve a little bit so that we can help our members get through this. And I think that that's what's really important here. Yes, we're looking at reports. We're having conversations about what a strategic reopening looks like. So, again, this is part of my personal opinion, and part of the you know platform that I kind of have here. But I do think that one of the best things we can do is, not dictate what's essential businesses. I think we should dictate very strict social distancing guidelines. And if a business can meet those guidelines, then they should be allowed to be open. They should make that decision, though, with wide open eyes that say you are going to be required to follow very strict guidelines. And if it's not okay for you to do partial business, then don't do it. If it is okay, and it's the difference between some business and no business, then we should allow business owners to make those decisions. And again, I say that very carefully because obviously the health of employees, employers, our residents, everybody we come in contact with is the precedent here. But I do believe there's a balance. And I do believe that with strict guidelines, there are some businesses that could be reopened for partial business sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I think there can be a happy medium, because I think, right now we kind of see the numbers as they increase. It's very daunting and it's scary, right? And then we also want to be, like you said, respectful to the fact that not everybody, we don't have enough guidelines to really kind of operate. I know that there are states and there are even counties like South Florida where you have to wear a mask out. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but it would be great to be able to reopen and operate, whether that means you can't, you need to wear a mask, you need to wear gloves, whatever that looks like, to be able to kind of move forward. So that's a great perspective as well. Yeah. And, with all the changes that we have in the PPP and the bridge loans and all this stuff, it's like, it's overload, right? And I think people just want to get back to work, whether it's employees and employers. People just want to get back out. They're kind of getting stir crazy. How do we do that safely? So if we don't put those things in place, people are going to venture out anyways. So is it better to do it sooner than later and put those guidelines in place? I think that's something to definitely look at. Hopefully the right people are listening.
Yeah, and I think, that we'll know this week the governor has put together a committee that we'll be working on. He wants a report by Friday of what, a soft and strategic reopening looks like. So, one of the other, issues with this is the uncertainty. And it's kind of what you just said. It's kind of that whole conversation of we just want to know what we can do. And maybe chambers of commerce are a little, looking through rose-colored glasses at times, but I do believe that businesses will do what's right. I do believe that with, some guidance that we can, get some people back to work.
Absolutely, I agree. I think, at least in this business community, and I've only really been here for 2 years, but it seems like everybody is very eager to do what's right. It's a very community service, community geared community. So I foresee that if they did put something like that in place, that you'd see people stick to it. I mean, and you see a lot of them now. A lot of essential workers are already wearing the masks. Employers are saying, listen, if you're going to work, if you're going to be on the payroll, you've got to stay safe, right?
Yeah, and I can tell you right now, if anybody thinks they're going back to business as usual, even if it is softening, they're mistaking themselves at this point. It's not going to happen. There's going to be a lot of change and a lot of, like I said before, standards that are put in place. So if you're not ready to accept that, then that's an issue for you. You got to really grasp that and get on to whatever happens in the near future. We can control a little bit. We can be a part of the solution rather than having everything mandated on what we can and can't do.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. This one just came to me, but if if the county or the state does not enforce something like that, masks, gloves, would you guys be prepared to put out like some sort of a recommendation that we recommend that you do business under certain guidelines, or does that seem far out of the scope of what the Chamber of Commerce could do?
It's not at all out of the scope as far as the communication. We communicate these things to our leaders all the time. It is up to them to make those decisions. We can't control what's open and what's not open here at the chamber. But I can tell you, as of today, I've texted some things to the state. I've had communications last week with the county. We're constantly putting ideas out in front, and it, with all the changes, we just have to be very flexible. And what may sound good 1 hour, we may come back at another hour and say, hey, we thought that through a little bit, and here's a couple other things that will help us get where we need to go. Being an elected official right now has got to be the worst job in the world. They are working so hard. I can tell you, and there's a lot of people that don't like any elected officials. I praise them all, regardless of from where they're at. They just have a thankless job right now. And for as many people that are sitting here saying we want to get back to business, our phone will be ringing off the hook. It was ringing. I'm hoping that wasn't another call that I get saying you care more about the economy than you do about health, because that is not true. We care about both. We care about it a lot. But we also want to be the sane center where these conversations can occur and can happen.
Right. And I think it's important for people to understand that the Chamber of Commerce is constantly in communication, like you said, so that they do understand that while it is important for us to get back to business, I'm eager to get back to business 100%, that we do it safely, and that you guys are an advocate for that as well. And of course, there are hospitals that are in other health institutions that are part of your membership. So that's important to you guys as well, with some of them sitting on the board and just being, a member or in other committees. Like, those conversations are happening. Yeah. So you guys are in the front force, and I know that firsthand that is the case. So I can say that. Now, obviously, the PPP, the bridge loans, they were used up and done come Friday. We were one of the businesses that unfortunately did not get past the first round. So the second round looks like we're getting closer to the possibility of that getting funded. If I read correctly, 450 million, maybe.
I can't remember what the total amount was, but they are on phase. I don't know if this is 3.5 or 4, what they're calling it. But right. There's another rollout expected really anytime.
Right. And it was 450 billion, not million.
It was made today in some of the conversations. But they are ongoing conversations, and I'll tell you what, we're going to fight for small business. We have to fight for them. And, regardless of whether we agree with how everything rolled out, I think the intention was to get some funding moving. How it got implemented, maybe, if we'd had a little bit more time to make some more thoughtful decisions. And I say we as in the government, as in those that can make those decisions, maybe it would be a little bit different. But we can't go backwards. All we can do is say, okay, now we have to move forward on this.
Right. And the reality is nobody knows how to deal with a global pandemic. I mean, the nation is shut down. The reality, very large majority of it is. So hopefully round two will look different. But as we wait for that to come on, and I know that today at 3 o'clock, the U.S. Chamber put out an initiative, SafeSmallBusiness.org. Can you tell us a little bit about that, what that looks like, and what it does for small businesses?
Yeah, and that one's purely a grant. It is a grant that will be given to businesses that have 3 to 20 employees. And it's a much more simplified process. Now, here's the issue. They're jammed already. And we were online at 3 o'clock and the lines are already overloaded. And I'm seeing from my peers from across the state that none of them have gotten through. So again, the same situation. This is, what's so unique about this is a global event. This
Yeah.
isn't, in you can't compare it, but I'm going to use this comparison. A disaster comes in like a hurricane and it might hit one coast, and Florida puts all hands on deck, to help that particular segment that was hit. We're across the United States right now. This isn't just a little hit, a little disaster. It's a complete disruption of business, and it is a big deal. So we've just got to do everything we can to bring the dollars local. And while I'm glad those programs are out there, we're going to continue the conversation of how do we look more locally? How can we help more locally so that we're not competing against every state in the United States for this funding? And that's an important part of the dialogue right now.
Right. And on another note, a lot of the benefits that are, or stimulus packages that are available to small businesses like myself are not available to civic organizations like yours. And you guys are operating like a small business. So more than ever, and for those that are listening, it is really important to support your Chamber of Commerce. So while the Chamber of Commerce is taking all this time, you guys are really, I mean, even that COVID-19 page, link on your page is amazing. Has been super helpful for us. Now is the time to really make sure that we're supporting our local civic organizations like you guys. And hopefully we'll see some changes in round two where it will allow you guys or some other civic organizations to reap some of those benefits from those stimulus packages. Do you foresee that anything like that would happen?
Well, yeah, I mean, we are a business. We're a small business, just like you. We have 10 employees. It's really a difficult position to be in because for us, we need the collective power of our business community for us to go out there and work the way that we're working. And at the same time, we need to respect these businesses are shut. They're laying people off. We are not important to them at this point in some aspects. If they have to make a decision between the Chamber of Commerce and their utility bill, they're going to pay their utility bill. I can say, and this, I'm not trying to come across as selfish about this, but there's never been a more important time for people to continue to support their chamber or to build their network. If you don't think right now is a great time to be working on your prospect list, work on it, because those that do it now are going to come out of this a lot quicker. And we talk about the prospect list like we have to go out there and do the business on behalf of the community with hopes that those that can support the chamber will. Those in industries that are incredibly successful right now, maybe they are members, maybe they're not. Those that are members may have to step up a little bit more. It's the hardest question for us to ask, though. I will tell you, it's been a painful and thoughtful conversation that we've been having as staff, and how do we talk to our businesses? What do we do with those that were already 90 days past due before this hit? It's a day-to-day challenge. We have memberships that renew every single month. So, the conversation has to be different at every level. And I think from our standpoint, if we see an effort on behalf of a member to remain a member, that might be a partial payment. That may be just a phone call to say, hey, we appreciate what you guys are doing. Can you delay our renewal date? We're there to work with people. And we know that that's going to be really important for the businesses.
Absolutely. And I'm sure our community appreciates that. We know that the new norm, we don't know what the new norm looks like, but we know that there will be a new norm. We know that social distancing, if I've read correctly, I mean, it ranges, but we're talking about, August, December 2021, 2022. So the real reality is that we, it's going to be different for some time. So when you think of what that new norm is, how do you tell small businesses or members, to prepare for that? How do you prepare for the new norm?
I think first of all is you become a really good listener, and you listen to what the challenges are, and you try to come up with solutions for them. But Carmen, the best thing I can do is be really honest with the business community and say this is going to be a tough haul. Even if we open up for partial business come May, that doesn't mean, as you just said, that there's going to be an opportunity for us to get together face to face in any size group. And one of the things I found here, that honest conversation that we can have now, we can do it like this via computer, but there's nothing like face to face. There's nothing like that compassionate look, the compassionate hug when it's needed. I don't mean to sound so, Pollyanna about it, but it's true. Our businesses I believe they need for us to remain positive. I think they need for us to remain inspirational. And I think they need for us to be very innovative and bring them along. Those that aren't comfortable, we'll find a way to help them get comfortable. But it's communication. We've got, nearly 1,000 members. We've reached out to every single one. Now we've had to leave messages because some doors are closed, but we care about every single one of those phone calls, every one, regardless of the size of the business. So, it's going to be different. It's going to be a long haul. But we're committed to make sure that we rebound from this stronger than before. It's just going to take time.
Right. And I tell a lot of my colleagues and friends locally, business owners, take the time to work on your business. I know a lot of times we, like, Nancy and I had the privilege this morning to see each other face to face from more than 6 feet away, but we couldn't give each other hugs or anything. I was a little sad about that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, we're both huggers,
Huggers and smilers. Masks do nothing for smilers. So
sure.
it's a tough time. But I've told a lot of people, sometimes we complain about we don't have enough time to work on marketing. We don't have a lot of time to work on training. We don't have a lot of time to work on the business instead of in the business. So really kind of looking at this time to really focus on the things that are on your list but are not top priority. Obviously prospecting and all that stuff is at the forefront as things start to slow down. But for those of us that are fortunate enough to be able to keep staff to do those other activities, when we can't do the community stuff and we can't do the operations stuff because we've already worked on new business plans, we've done all the strategic planning, at some point you've got to start working on the business in a different way. So just start checking off some of those things that have been on your list. And year after year, you're like, I really want to work on this. It's a good time to start working on those things.
It absolutely is. And that was one of the conversations I had with the staff as we went into this is they're an incredibly hardworking group. They don't complain about long hours. They don't complain about, the tough work that they're doing. But I reminded them as we started looking at remote work is that they needed to bring to me a list of everything that they've always said, if I only had time. And so that they've all submitted their if I only had time, and we work on a piece of that every single day. It's just so important. And that's just a tip to businesses, to do that and to realize that if your websites aren't up to par, you've got to have an online presence. If this hasn't shown you more than anything how important that is, and part of the membership is we give you a portal. We give you a page that can link to all of your information. And if you don't have a web presence, at least upgrade your portal page so that people can find you. And we can assist you with that any day, any time. And that's what's really important because the future of business is going to be more digital. And as you can tell by this with remote workers, it's also going to require us to be there when we're needed. And that's not your typical 9 to 5, Monday through Friday job. It's putting things on the website that are available when the time is right for the recipient to go to it.
Right. And I even suggest to some people, like look at your business model. And if there are COVID-19 related products, or if you have any sort of material that you can convert into something different that can now benefit during this time, do so. Start to get creative. And of course, we're blessed again to have, tons of stores, over 600 stores that give us feedback and ideas. But I encourage people to stay connected in their networks, whether you're a sign maker or whether you're a locksmith, see what other people are doing in your industry to kind of stay on, ahead and on top of that. So
it's so important. And the restaurant industry, I just applaud them. They are doing incredible things, whether it's, adding supplies to their to-go orders, paper supplies, things that they have access to in bulk. It's their Facebook Live conversations that are so organic and so fun about what they've got going on in their business.
yeah.
It's packaging, produce to go, meat to go from restaurants. And this is pretty incredible. I mean, I think that model may be pretty normal for the restaurant industry going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you miss most post or pre COVID-19?
Well, I'm going to say the hugs. So, I think along with just the face-to-face interaction, which I think is very special, I miss the momentum we had going. We started out the year very strong. We had a great annual dinner. We were heading into our 101st year of business.
Yeah.
And under the leadership of Bob Lloyd, he was challenging us big time. Do some really cool stuff this year that's going to be not just this year, but looking out 2, 3, 5 years and make big community impacts. So I miss the momentum that we had going with that. It doesn't mean the stuff is coming off the list. It just means that right now we have to look at what the priorities are, and we have to get everybody, to some sense of normalcy. And we, at the same time, have to be looking out so that we are proactive versus reactive to the situation.
Absolutely. And what a great message from Bob Lloyd when he talked about, challenging ourselves to be more than, what people see us as a community and as businesses. So I thought that I think if that's recorded, that should go on the chamber website.
Yeah.
He had a great message.
Yeah, at that time we weren't doing all these recordings of activities. Guess what? In the future, I think that we'll make sure that those types of messages are out there, and it is inspirational. We are blessed to have a board of directors that represents all types of businesses, sizes, industries, geographic locations within Volusia County and even beyond. So very thoughtful leaders. I commend all businesses for what they're going through right now. It is not an easy time. We respect their positions and where they sit and their needs that they have, and just want to be a place where they can land if they need to. If they just need to talk about things, our staff is on hand and ready to have conversations. When you're sending out emails and doing all that, you don't always see that tone that it's intended. And I've just found the more authentic you can be and real you can be with the members, the better it is for everybody.
Yeah, and I've had some conversations with Ken one-on-one about business. And I really appreciate you guys so much, because it's not common to get a regional staff of a chamber of commerce on the phone as quickly as we can get you guys, or even to have you to agree to do this. I mean, that doesn't happen in other regional chambers. I can do that. So the one-on-ones and the personal relationship is so important, and I think that speaks volumes of the community that we're in. So
it's our culture here, Carmen. We're member centric. We are here to work for our members, and we're not ashamed to say that. We work hard, and again, I'm so sincere when I say we become an extension of business, and reach out to us and let us know what's going on. We're certainly trying to reach out to all the businesses.
Absolutely. I won't take too much more of your time, but what do you feel on a personal and a professional level? What's the lesson that you've taken from this pandemic?
Oh gosh. Oh, that's a good question. So on a personal level, I've probably taken away that giving, and I'll use my staff as an example, giving the staff parameters and empowerment to do things differently can be very powerful. And I'm really proud of the staff here. And Nothing, I'm not a status quo leader. I don't believe in standing still. You know, every time we figure something out, I'm trying to say, well, let's push the limits on this. Let's do it better. Let's do it bigger. Let's do it different. And that's the culture we have here, and all of the staff buys into that. So, you know, from a personal standpoint, that empowerment and watching them follow through and do what they need to do for the good of the business community has personally been so rewarding to me. I care deeply about them and what goes on in their lives. Professionally, I don't love all of this FaceTime, this camera time, talking about, you know, me as a person, or that's hard. I'm my worst cheerleader, and you know, but I'm doing it. I'm out there every day, getting out of my comfort zone, learning all this new technology. Hey, I just started tweeting. You know, I've been a big social media person, but I've just given up. I said, I'm not tweeting. I just don't want to do it. I forced myself to start learning that. So, you know, professionally, I'm along with all the businesses out there learning new stuff. You can teach an old dog like me new tricks, and I commit to continue to learn. You know, how we can better lead in our community, and how we can better be there for businesses of all shapes and sizes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nancy. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you guys' effort. I do believe that we do have one of the best chambers. I've been so blessed to be around some amazing chambers. And I have to say, you guys are a 10 in my book. And of course, you guys are accredited as well. So you've already been scored. But it's no wonder to me that you guys are so highly scored in the chamber world and obviously locally. It's such an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being so open to talking to me and to talking to local small businesses. I appreciate you. Congratulations on all of you guys' success as a chamber, yours individually, and your amazing staff. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Carmen. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. I will see you soon, and hopefully soon enough, we'll get to share that hug.
6 feet apart. That's going to be a tough one, but we'll get her in some point.
I'm going to find a way.
Be innovative. I like it.
Bye,
Thanks,
Nancy.
have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.